Ladies and gentlemen, Minister, State Secretaries, Mrs. Trautmann, Mrs. Rubeza, it's a pleasure to be here with you. It is 1st of February, 18 o'clock, and I'm standing in Riga, outside in the snow, after a very long day of meetings of the political task force. And I'm phoning to Brussels, not to my commissioner, Pieter Bulc, or my Director General, Henrik Hololei, but to my son. And he's asking me, where are you? I say, I'm in Riga. Is that a nice city? Yes, I say, it's a beautiful city. What are you going to do tonight? I thought you were in Tallinn. No, I'm not in Tallinn. That's also a beautiful city, but I'm in Riga. But what are you going to do? I'm still going to travel to Vilnius. Oh, is that also a nice city? Yes, I say, that's also a beautiful city. The 3 beautiful cities. You're still traveling there tonight? How you do? I said, okay, I will be there by midnight. Why are you waiting? Why are you not taking a train? They say, that's what I'm working on. I'm working on this train to get rolling between these 3 beautiful cities. And somewhere we will be taking that train together, like I always spent some traveling in Europe with him. And it will connect, and it will be a project that will be uniting Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to address very briefly 3 points in decreasing order of importance. First of all, the current MFF, then of course the next one, and of course my predecessors, Petri Sarvamaa and Peter Berkowitz, have already spoken about it. And then finally a little word also on military mobility that has been mentioned before. Ladies and gentlemen, the current MFF is the one that is important to succeed this project. The European Commission has been making available 678 million to the 3 Baltic states, and 110 million is on the way, so very soon almost 800 million will be made available. It's from the Cohesion Fund. But the co-legislators decided that it will be done through the Connecting Europe Facility mechanism, which means that there are some rules that are tied to this cohesion money. Because we have keeping the national envelopes, but if the money is not used, it will be lost. And within the first 800 million that have been made available, curiously enough, there are already 20 million that were lost by others and that we could transfer, due to the importance of the cross-border project, to Rail Baltica. And this is an important distinction. And it allows us to be complementary, like you said, Peter, indeed, that we can focus our attention on cross-border and on those difficult projects because of these mechanisms, and that cohesion can come in usefully to complement on all the national sections that are equally important for corridor perspective, because we are not looking at little parts only. So this combination that was decided for the 2014-2020 MFF has been very, very useful to get to a successful implementation of that what is most difficult. Cross-border in particular. And we have also been working together with Poland and making 800 million available between Warsaw, Białystok, Ełk, Trzeski, to complement that we do not only see the little part of Rail Baltica greenfield, but including the greenfield part to Ełk in Poland and the upgrading part all the way to Warsaw. Because also, as Minister Bittel said, it's very important that we take into account that also on that side, the Rail Baltica is not stopping at the border with Lithuania, Poland, but is going beyond and is giving this connectivity to the rest of Europe. And I'm very pleased to know already that Poland is planning also this transport hub and the high-speed rail between Warsaw, Poznań and Wrocław, which will be completed in the same timing as Rail Baltica. So the traveling that we have been seeing in the presentation of Mrs. Rubeza this morning will not only allow to have this increased travel times between the 3 capitals, the 3 beautiful cities of the Baltic states, but also beyond to Białystok and Warsaw, and even beyond towards Berlin and the rest of Europe. And this joint planning that Coordinator Trautmann is doing is allowing to have a real corridor view. It is important that we grasp the full opportunities now. We shall not fiddle around. There's no time to be lost. But I also have the feeling that we are not losing any time. We have a very strong team here of 3 Baltic states, with ministers, with civil servants, with the business community that is implementing this project, we think, as it should be implemented. It's not easy. is very difficult. It's 5 member states cooperating. All the other cross-border projects that I'm involved in, like Brenner that was cited as well, are 2 member states cooperating. That's already difficult enough. But 5 member states cooperating is like a miracle. And we are achieving that miracle, bit by bit. And the current MFF is still very important. We distinguished in our works that there will be 70 more millions needed, and we hope to make that available in a call of use it and lose it money that will be available end of this year. And these 70 million will allow to complete the full detailed design, which will then allow, in the end of the period, when we come to the money that is not used, to be reshifted here in also doing more track bedding and civil works within the current MFF. And that is the answer to those who are doubting that this project can be realized. It can be realized. It can be realized because that money will be available and no money will be lost in the Connecting Europe facility, Petri, because that is where we have this strong instrument and we can play in complementarity with the rest of the cohesion fund and to make sure that those projects that are most dear to the European Union in terms of EU added value will be realized. Because it's so difficult, we have so few examples in Europe like Öresund or the high-speed rail links between the capitals of the Western Europe. And there, I think, I need to ask for your attention that the current MFF is the basis for the success of Rail Baltica. Words have already been said on the next MFF. The next MFF I cannot talk about, really. Of course, you would like to ask me, will the money be there? At least we have heard Petri that he is a defender within the parliament and he is one of the 2 sides of the co-legislators. And we have heard the ministers, the 5 ministers, who are very convinced. So I think, Catherine, that we have a good team of allies in the parliament and with the ministers to make a success of it. But the bit that will come out on the 2nd of May is not known to me either. It will be Commissioner Oettinger with President Juncker who will be making that announcement on the 2nd of May. And of course, we all hope that this will be working. But I can also tell you that from my perspective, we should go in the CEF 2 even beyond CEF 1, which means that we shall think also to have, like for the general envelope in CEF, a mechanism of rewarding cross-border. So in the general envelope we have 30 or 40 for cross-border, 30 general, 40 for cross-border projects. We could do the same on the cohesion side. We can mirror that. We can also have there a reflection whether that could be possible to have this bonus for cross-border. It would correspond to the philosophy of CEF, of this use it or lose it. And it would reward and even focus more the limited means, the very limited means we have. Of course, we will hope and fight together also with our colleagues from DG Regio that the cohesion budget will be remaining a strong component because we need to look beyond Rail Baltica and make sure that there is complementarity on the other transport modes, on multimodal aspects, on the fact that there are national sections which need to be addressed as well at the same time. So we will be joining our forces in an allied way to get to a very strong budget within its heading 1, distinguished still at the moment in 1A and B for technicians amongst us, but nevertheless is a heading for growth and jobs and investments in Europe, in things that we believe in, that we can realize, and that is indeed, like Igna said, for the children of ours to be making use of in a long-term perspective. There is, of course, also the other parts of the budget that are going to be important still. For instance, the budget that will be following up as a successor to the FC, the Juncker Plan Fund. And there we will have InvestEU. And it is also an important component to those parts that we should not invest in with scarce public resources. And it is important that, for instance, certain investments where there is income can be benefiting from that part of the European budget. Finally, as I promised, also a little word on military mobility, because it was mentioned this morning. And military mobility is a very recent theme and discussed not even yet within the budget terms of MFF. It should not be seen as a solution here. We are working on a strong CEF, and military mobility is complementary. It will provide a possibility to do things on top, because of course we do not want to invest 24 billion on civilian infrastructure without having knowledge of what military will need for its mobility on the same civilian infrastructure. So we need to see what these standards could be, and to implement that. And if there is a good CEF 2 coming out of the negotiations, then military mobility will provide the additionality in terms of multimodal connections in ports, airports and terminals, in, for instance, replacements of bridges for roads, or in certain specific aspects for rail, but not turn it around, not make military mobility the solution, whereas CEF is the solution. So that is an important point that I want to clarify here, that we do not mix the things up. As the Swedish State Secretary said, ladies and gentlemen, it needs to be on time, it needs to be on budget. Citizens also ask that it is implemented in a very good way when we talk about environmental implementation and so forth. And of course, we need the strong teams, the 4 points that he mentioned. Of course, also, as the other ministers mentioned, it is about cooperation, 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 including all of the 3 Baltic states and Finland and Poland. It's about trust. I believe myself that in this room, with these teams we have the trust and the cooperation to implement a really difficult cross-border project like Rail Baltica across 5 member states in time, and that I can enjoy this train ride with my son in 2026. Thank you.